And with that, since particularly we haven't heard from you, Ben and Steve, yet, I wanted to see if you could give a quick snapshot to some of the work that your organizations do to increase access to San Diegans throughout the county. Perhaps, Ben, we can start with you. Ryan can show you the works there.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, and it's an honor to be with all of you here tonight. And so just to give a quick background, I know you've heard a little bit about outdoor outreach and the work that we do, but the organization was started in 1999 here in San Diego by Chris Rutgers, who's here, and he essentially picked San Diego off of a map because of the amazing nature opportunities that we have here. He wanted to find where was that area that had a large urban population where you could do outdoor activities year-round, and essentially came to San Diego from Salt Lake City to create this organization around this vision of how can you connect youth to the transformative power of the outdoors in a way that could introduce them to possibility and opportunity in their lives. And so, I mean, like a lot of small nonprofits, it was really bootstraps from the very beginning. I think, Chris, you signed up the ladies that were working at the front desk of your gym to be your first board members on your articles of incorporation, but I give you a lot of credit because you've really created an incredible organization that has produced incredible leaders like Ryan and some of our other outdoor outreach youth that are here with us today. And so the organization is really it's about the outdoors, it's about parks, it's about introducing youth to nature, but it's also about giving them an opportunity to challenge themselves and to see themselves in a new light. And so we work with about 1,400 individual youth a year from throughout San Diego County, and it's specifically those youth that need the most level of support. So we work with schools that cater to the needs of homeless youth or foster care organizations. All of the schools that we work with are also Title I, and they're in the more underserved communities. And yet we go to them because we know that these students, while they do have the need for the most support, they also have incredible value and assets. And so we have a strength-based model to really show them that some of the challenges they have in their lives are really, they can overcome them. And the model that we use is like, we show them how to rock climb for the first time, or we introduce them to the ocean, and we teach them how to swim. And so something that can be so inherently scary for them, they can overcome. And so I think that really allows them to look at other aspects of their life and see that they can really do these things. They can do things they never thought they could do before, and they can overcome a lot of these challenges. And I think one of the most exciting pieces of our program is our leadership program that Ryan talked about, where youth that come into the program as participants have the opportunity to apply for our program to become trained up to be paid instructors for us. And so those youth now make up about half of our instructor pool, and they use it as a part-time job to work their way through community college or to support their family. And the most important thing is that they have the cultural fluency. They speak Arabic, and they speak Chaldean and Spanish and Vietnamese, to really connect at a core level with the youth that we're working with. And they understand a lot of the challenges that they're going through, and also a lot of the strengths that they can bring to this idea around community leadership. And so it really is our goal, we can send youth away that go through our programs to experience beyond San Diego nature in other areas, but the idea is that they can come back to their community and contribute in a way that can really, inspire others to look beyond, their limitations and see what else they can do.
It's awesome and very inspiring. And yeah. Would love to head out on one of those trips with you someday. They sound really transformational. Steve, I know, again, you've worn many hats. I mentioned some of them. But could you speak a little bit about how your career in the outdoor recreation industry helped you to translate some of those successes to the place-based work that you've done here in San Diego and Escondido with the Escondido Creek Conservancy and beyond?
Sure. Am I good here? Yeah. So, hope everybody's warm enough out there. Sort of huddle up. Tomorrow there's a offshore coming, so it'll be nice and warm here. I want to thank the foundation for hosting this event, and It's really an honor to be up here with these inspiring people. You've heard that word inspiring quite a bit, but yeah, I think with this crowd it certainly is. And great location we are here tonight. A little extra work to get here, but I hope you feel like it's worth it. I want to thank folks like Friends of Daly Ranch that really brought this old ranch house back, and also to the Escondido Parks and Recreation that does such a great job managing this property. I had the actual interesting memory of about 25 years ago being in here when I was a firefighter on a strike team defending this ranch house during the grade fire, and it's so great that it was able to be saved and come back. So I'm looking out at the crowd, and frankly, we all have great stories here that are inspiring, but this is quite an inspiring group here. There's 15, 20 people that could all be up here talking about how they are active in the community and what they are doing. I'm seeing friends from the Friends of Daly Ranch. I'm seeing folks from San Elijo Lagoon Conservancy, the folks from the San Diego Mountain Bike Association. So it's a great evening with great people. Tech. Let me talk about tech for 2 minutes. That's why I'm here. The Conservancy started in 1989, and it was a group of us sitting around a kitchen table trying to figure out how we could save some of the great open space that we lived around and near. And it was all, my friend Jerry Harmon over here has a great expression called MSU, make stuff up. And right from day one, it was all about MSU. And so to date, though, many years later, we've saved or been involved in saving over 3,000 acres. Today we manage about 1,700 acres. We are in the process with our friends at Friends of Daly Ranch in working on purchasing both the Mountain Gate and John Henry properties, which would add another 1,000 acres and really form a great green belt around the whole city of Escondido. So somewhere along the line, we also got involved through a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant, which you all should go home and Google what the Land and Water Conservation Fund is. It's a critical tool that we use in conservation. We were able to complete with our partners at Olivenheim Municipal Water District an interpretive center where we put 2,200 people last year, kids, from Title I schools, from 27 different schools through a science-based fourth grade program. I think one of the things is we just brought awareness to the fact that there is an Escondido Creek. Many people didn't know what it was. They thought it was this ditch in the middle of Escondido. And I think a lot of people now know that this is an incredible asset to North County. And we are in the process, frankly, of changing our stripes as an organization. We spent the last 20 plus years, 25 years, who's counting, really focusing on buying and conserving land, and got pretty good at doing that and understanding how that can be done. And now we need to really invest our time and effort and organization in building stewardship and community engagement so that these lands can be managed and saved for our kids and their grandkids. And it's changed. It's changed for our organization. It's moving from land management and buying land to land management, but with outreach, stewardship, community engagement. So that's where we are today. That really didn't answer your question because you asked me question 2 instead of question 1.
The good thing about having the mic, right? You can say what you want to say. But no, again, it's really exciting, and we have folks like Ann Van Leer with the tech team in the audience too. So so much about this work is about partnerships, and I think that's really the name of the game. You gotta make stuff up and in order to make stuff happen, and you're all making stuff happen.
MSU. You want me to talk about Eagle Creek and how I've made that transition?
I would love you to. And also, just while I'm with you, if you could share a little bit about the Parks for Kids
You bet.
Work that you've helped to connect, which is a national effort, connect it here to San Diego.
So started out thinking I was going to work in conservation, got sort of distracted by the great game of business, ended up through my passion of outdoors, learning, never thought I would, about manufacturing, P&Ls, balance sheets, things like that. Human resources, ended up at some point with 1,000 employees worldwide. And that was all well and good, but somewhere along the line realized the power of collaboration and working with other businesses, where when business people come together, align behind their values, they can do great things. We formed the Outdoor Industry Association. We now have 1,200 member companies that include a lot of the folks that were mentioned here, from the Vans to the North Faces to the REI. One of the things we did over the years was put together a recreation economy report, which, when we're a bunch of MSU guys thinking about what would be great, we figured out how to raise the money to do a recreation report. And then about 10 years later, the president is quoting our numbers in Yosemite. It was quite an honor for us. But what we found was that the recreation economy, so there's a business side of this outdoor recreation, actually contributes $640 billion to the economy of the U.S., which puts us ahead of the oil industry and many other industries out there. We employ in outdoor recreation 6 million jobs, 6 million people. Here in the state of California, it represents $85 billion in revenue, and 732,000 people work in outdoor recreation. So this is not only a good idea, but for as far as we all know, it's great and healthy to get outdoors, and there's tremendous reasons to do that. But it's really good business, too, and communities that invest in outdoor recreation get a return on their investment. So that's kind of what led me into, from business into the outdoors, into the nonprofit, was realizing that the issues of access and diversity, the issues around land management and government engagement in outdoor recreation were all critically important to the business of outdoor recreation as well. I was able to learn a lot on the nonprofit side and use that in our business, and on the business side, use a lot of those skills to help grow the nonprofit area. And things that you learn along the way, like about the Land and Water Conservation Fund, the Endangered Species Act, that without it, we wouldn't have been able to save any of the lands that we have here, about the bond issues and what that means. And then also just understanding the best practices of people saving land and doing outdoor recreation and providing access in communities from Central California to Escondido and throughout the country. Learning those best practices and how to put them to work locally is critically important, and it has been a big part of being in collaboration with all these organizations.
Thanks, Steve. That's impressive. Those are all B, with billions of the B, in terms of economic impact. I know one thing that I'm really thankful that Steve connected us to the Outdoor Foundation at the San Diego Foundation, and one thing that we did want to share, and we can send out a link afterwards, is to a Parks for Kids campaign that the Outdoor Foundation, which is the philanthropic arm of the outdoor industry, is doing nationally, but they also have a focus here in San Diego, one of the only regions that they're working in, and it's really to help partnerships between schools and nonprofits get kids out to parks this year in time with the National Park Centennial. So it's a great opportunity in a way that Steve's helped us here in the region to bridge philanthropy, the outdoor industry, working with nonprofits and schools and the like. So obviously we've got
Well, I just wanted to add that it was in
Still got the
a.
microphone.
I told her that that I would be a success tonight if I didn't cry, if I didn't interrupt, and if I didn't curse. And so far, I've got 2 out of 3. So a little story behind the Kids for Parks is we were in a meeting down in I think it was in Cardiff with the folks from San Diego Lagoon Conservancy, and Tara was there, I think, and the folks from Escondido Creek Conservancy, the people from Daly Ranch. And there was a conversation around the table about that the biggest constraint to getting kids from their schools to these interpretive centers and nature centers was transportation. And I grew up in a carpool era. Well, I guess that doesn't happen anymore. You either ride a bus or you don't go. And so that everybody on both sides wanted these kids to come to these interpretive centers, and the teachers wanted to take them, but it was that one piece, which was transportation. So we were back on a lobby visit in Washington, and we were meeting with the people at CEQ, which is the environmental wing of the White House, and they start talking about the one issue with the president's Every Kid in a Park program was buses, getting kids and transportation from the school to the area. And so some folks got together, and Nicola helped, and we've developed this Every Kid's in a Park. It's called Kids for Parks. No, Parks for Kids.
You got it.
Parksforkids.info, and every one of you can spend $10 and get a kid to a park.
Awesome. Thanks. So obviously we've got a great personal story with Ryan having a professional career that spawned from his experience in the outdoor industry. We've heard about the recreation industry as a whole. I'm curious, Ben or Camila, if you could add a little bit about, some of the co-benefits that you see to the work. It's not all about the environment. There's a lot of other things, some of which you both hinted at, but I'm not sure if you want to share anything else about some of the big co-benefits that you see that inspire you out of your work.
Yeah, well, the initial response is really just disconnecting from our personal electronic devices. That's so hard for kids. And, the teens that we work with, one person was telling me that, they took kids to a camp, and that one kid had 4 cell phones. So they took one cell phone and they thought they were done, and they found another one and another one. So this is a very serious task, right? To disconnect our youth from all of these electronic devices. And so anyway, so just that, listening to the sounds. And when we actually partner with an organization called Wild Places, and we go to the sequoias, so just, having them, learn the sounds and to not be afraid. I was raised in at the National Chávez Center, which is now National Park. And when I would go into the city, I'd always get really scared. But it's funny, when the city kids come to the mountains, that's when they get really scared, right? I also just quickly want to share that I went to a camp. It was an amazing experience called Laurel Springs, and it was owned by Jane Fonda and Tom Hayden. So social justice camp, and all these kids would get there, and the focus was on the arts. So I think that that's another benefit, right? Just, again, disconnecting and really just using our imaginations, what kids are supposed to do anyway. So beautiful experience, and I hope that I can recreate something like that. The other magical element besides social justice and having the focus on the arts was the diversity. That you'd have really poor kids like us, from farm workers, families, and then you'd have, children from wealthy families. And to mix us together, and the interactions, the conversations, the experiences that we had were really magical.
That's a great point. And I think, I think for me, as we look at kind of the larger role that outdoor outreach and all of our organizations that use the outdoors can have, I think it's looking at the outdoors and nature as really the platform for how do we address the most critical issues that our communities are dealing with. And I'll give you some examples. So recently, you're probably aware of the events that happened in El Cajon. We're very involved in that community with the refugee population there, and we have a weekly after-school program for kids there. and they're 98% are refugee students, mostly from the Middle East. And they've been going through a lot in the past couple of weeks. And just over the weekend, we took them to San Diego Bay, 25 kids, and brought them into the water for the first time, and took them stand-up paddleboarding and kayaking, and laughed with them and gave them the opportunity to play and feel safe in this space. And then from there, let them, discuss some of the issues that they're dealing with within their community. And I think that's one example. Another one, today we did a tour of Camp Barrett, which is a facility that's run by the County Department of Probation. And they now are looking at, anti-recidivism efforts. How can we use the outdoors to help kids that are involved in the juvenile justice system and allow them to help, break some of these cycles? And could we essentially, bring some of those kids into our leadership program and train them up to become paid instructors for us, to meet some of that need around that outdoor economy that Steve talked about. So there's, employment opportunities, there's health and wellness opportunities. Another one which I think Dolores Huerta would be very proud about is the civic engagement aspect. And so we have an outdoor voices component of our leadership program where we talk to the kids about the power that they have in sharing those experiences in the outdoors with key decision makers, and how through that, sharing those stories about who they are, what they're able to connect to, they can change policy that then can give other kids the opportunity to experience those same things. And so, teaching kids about public speaking, teaching them about the democratic process, bringing them to Sacramento for the first time, where it was there that they saw their first sequoia, can really be eye-opening for these kids, and having them speak for the very first time in front of decision makers, and seeing the decision makers stand up taller in their seats, actually pay attention to these kids, whereas the paid lobbyists, had their head down and they weren't paying attention to them. The kids in that moment saw that they have power in using their voice and in, sharing that message about the power of the outdoors. And I know that that's going to be something that they're going to carry with them throughout their lives around the issues that their communities are dealing with. And so I think if we look at the outdoors through that lens of what's that community need and approach it that way, the outdoors will always be relevant. There'll always be a place for the outdoors.
Well, with that, I know we have about 15 minutes or so. We also want to make sure we get some questions from the audience. We have a microphone just in the middle of the aisle here. So if folks have questions, I invite you to walk up there. I have one more quick question for you all as some of you are thinking about your questions that you might have. Even if it just gets you warm to get up and stand up and ask a question. Super quickly, what's... That was not just for you, Steve. What's maybe one thing that if we were to host a meeting like this time next fall that you would love to see change by next fall? And maybe something, on these issues, maybe something that all these folks could get involved in, support, or be aware of?
Hello. So, Parks for Kids is one place where you can all get involved. We'd like to see the whole program for getting kids in elementary schools out into a park. There's 58 schools in our watershed here, and we'd like to see kids from all of those schools be able to visit our great lands and open spaces. And when I look 5 years out, 10 years out, what I hope to see is a vision of an Escondido where it's a hub for outdoor recreation, that this area uses its great assets of these great open lands and great spaces for recreation to attract people that want to live in a diverse community. They want to live in an area that's economically affordable, but they also want access to open space, trails, and outdoor recreation. And I think it's a great opportunity. It's an exciting vision for this valley. that's what I would like to see in 10 years, is to where the Escondido Creek is a corridor that connects all these communities in a walkable and bike riding kind of way.
Yeah. I don't have much to say. I think by next fall, I'd love to just see more of you guys here. Much larger crowd, a little bit more awareness out there. I think it's really important that although we are here voicing, ourselves and our stories, you guys get out there and tell your stories to your friends and family as well, and try to inspire more people to get out there and be a part of bigger movements like this.